Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video just to go through a couple of examples that we missed in class. So the first one is taking a decimal and writing it into what we call expanded place value form. Essentially that just means writing it with the powers of 10. So this first one we have 0.0467. We're going to take it with our place value chart, line up the decimal, and then we're going to use that chart to write with our tens. So I'm going to flip back to our chart. Here's our place value chart. The number we have, remember, is 0.0467. Okay, so that's the number they gave us. And now that it's lined up with my chart, it's really easy to see how these numbers line up. Now, we don't write our zeros just because 0 times 10 to any power is still 0. So we're going to start with the first number that's not 0. So in this one, it's going to be 4 times 10 to the negative 2 because it's in the hundredths place. So we're going to start with this as 4 times 10 to the negative 2 plus the next digit, which is going to be the 6 in the next spot. So 6 times 10 to the negative 3 plus the last digit, or 7 times 10 to the negative 4. And so that's going to be your expanded form. Okay, our next example, 345.0109. Again, we don't worry about zeros, but we do have to line up our decimals. So if we go back to that decimal chart again, we're going to put in my new number, line up the decimal. So 345 is going to go to the left of the decimal, and then 0.0109. And so these are going to be the tens I use for those to the left of the decimal, and then these are going to be what I use to the right. Now we'll skip these just because we don't need to write zeros, but essentially we're going to just write it from left to right in our expanded form. So that 3, because it's in the hundreds place, is going to be 3 times 10 to the second, plus the next digit, 4, is going to be 4 times 10 to the 1, or just 10, plus the 5 in the ones place. We don't have to write that as 10 to the 0 because 10 to the 0 is 1, so we're just going to leave that as plus 5. So that takes care of those digits to the left of the decimal. Those are all going to be our positive numbers. To the right of the decimal is going to be our negative exponents. And remember, we're not going to write the zeros. So the first one we're going to start with is the 1. Now, that's not in the first spot. It's in the second spot after the decimal. So it's going to be 1 times 10 to the negative 2. Even though we didn't write the 0, we still have to skip that place value. So essentially that was 0 times 10 to the negative 1, but I don't need to write that. And then the last one, the 9, is going to be plus 9 times 10 to the negative 4. And that is going to be your expanded place value notation. All right, our next example is going to be going the opposite way. And so now they've given me the expanded form, and what I need to do is write it in the numeral form. Well, we made this note in class that positive exponents will be to the left of the decimal, negative exponents will be to the right of the decimal. So what you have to do is find where it flips from positive to negative. And so here in this first example, right there is where it changes over. Everything before that has a not negative exponent, and everything to the right with that 3 times 10 to the negative 1 starts my digits after the decimal. All right, so the first one I've got is this 3 times 10 to the third. So that tells me I'm going to be 3 places over. Sorry, I'm going to be 4 places over. That's the thousands. Okay, so I've got my 3. The next one, 4 times 10 to the second, is going to be my hundreds place. 7 times 10, change colors here, is going to be my tens place. And then that 8 is going to be in my ones place. Okay, so there's the numbers to the left of my decimal. And then to the right, I'm going to have 3 times 10 to the negative 1. And so that's going to be the first place after the decimal. And then 4 times 10 to the negative 2 is going to be 2 places after the decimal. And so there is your final answer, 3,478.34. All right, here's my last one for this video. Still the same thing. I am taking expanded form and writing it into decimals. So this problem says 3 times 10 to the negative 1 plus 5 times 10 to the negative 4 plus 6 times 10 to the negative 7. Well, first thing I notice is that all the exponents are negative. So I don't have any numbers in front of the decimal. I could write it as a 0, but this means that I'm going to start with my decimal because all of them are negative. And then this tells me that I'm going to have 7 places after the decimal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now I just need to start filling them in. All right, so this first one is 3 times 10 to the negative 1. Well, that's the first spot, so that's going to be a 3. 5 times 10 to the negative 4 means that's going to be in the fourth spot. Is going to be a 5. And then the last one, 6 times 10 to the negative 7 is going to go in the 7th spot. And then I'm going to fill in all those blanks with zeros. And so you could write this as 0.3005006, or you could leave off that 0 in the front. Probably in my lab, you'll have to put the 0 in the front.